All right. Welcome back to another Wright Stew podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright. And it is Monday. And gold jacket, green jacket, who gives a shit? Hey, how about the Masters? How did you like? You got your Happy Gilmore shirt on. What did you think about Roy finally getting the career Grand Slam? Were you into it at all? I was pulling for Bryson. I had a little dance event I had to go to yesterday. But what did you think about the Masters?
Well, I was driving most of the day and periodically was just checking the phone to see what the scores were. And it looked like it was just kind of bouncing all over the place. I didn't have a dog in the fight. I got home in time. Rory was on the 15th. Justin Rose was already in the clubhouse. And I think they were tied. Rory took the lead. And then got to that last hole, the 18th. And man, here's the thing. Watching it, I can't imagine. Like I don't golf. I've golfed in my life, but I'm not good. I just like to drive the ball. I'm good at Drive Shack, places like that. That's what I like to do. But I can't imagine the amount of pressure like that's on you, because that's and my wife's like, well, what's the difference between winning and finishing second from a monetary value? I'm like, that's real. At that point, those guys don't care about that.
Neither one of those guys. I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Once you win, though, you do get like some automatic, like you can play in it forever or something.
Yeah.
So there are some benefits, but from a monetary standpoint, I don't think that's the driving factor.
They're making more money off of sponsorships and that endorsements. But man, it was I kind of wanted him to miss because I wanted to see a little more. I wanted to see a playoff. Like, I have nothing against Rory at all. I think he's an outstanding player and it seems to be a great individual, human being. But I kind of wanted to see him miss just to see the playoff and how that unfolded. And then he hits the ball in the bunker. I'm like, oh man. Then he makes a great chip shot. And then misses like a 7-footer maybe.
Yeah.
A footer. Yeah. Which again, those putts aren't easy. We've all seen the little putting green thing in the office, and you go over there and normal people miss 7 out 10 out of those. And
and those greens are like glass, and they're angled. I mean, they're designed for you to miss, and so and to look dumb.
What was your thought going as he's on that last hole with a 1-stroke lead? What were you?
I found myself starting to pull for him at that point because he's kind of one of the guys. He stayed in the PGA. He didn't go to Live. He didn't chase the money. He kind of, right, wrong, any different. He was willing to take less and appreciate the brand that he was a part of. And so I found myself starting to pull for him a little bit right there. And he had collapsed against Bryson in the U.S. Open, I believe, last year.
Yeah.
And Bryson to come back and beat him. And so it was good, dude. I was pulling for him. And then I thought once he went into OT, though, he kind of mentally shot. The thing that's impressive about golfers, being able to reset, and I've played enough golf to know that it is a complete mind effing game, right? I mean, it is as much as baseball is, because there's so many little tweaks you can do to your swing. The thing that messes with me on golf, the ball's not moving. But, man, you don't hit that club face smooth and where you should. It's just really, really such a difference in shots and such a difference in how the ball spins and can you stop it. So I was pulling for him. And then emotionally, after he wins it on the first playoff, that's pretty awesome. He lays down on the green.
Man, it was breaking down. Yeah, just cool to see all the emotion, everything come out. And again, you watch those tournaments, and especially the big ones at the end. You see all of his. He goes and sees his wife and his daughter, and then his family. But you see all of the players coming out, like shaking his hand, like it shows you who he is on that tour, like how well respected. Just a genuinely like very likable and very liked person by his, I guess, colleagues, for lack of a better term, like contemporaries. And man, just a great performance by Rory. Just kind of an up and down. I guess he fell behind for a little bit at one point and then came back. So, but he is now the sixth player all time to have accomplished the career Grand Slam. So
Very
Gene
solid
Sarazen,
career.
Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and Rory McIlroy. So anytime you can be in the same conversation as any of those individuals, you're doing some really good things. And Rory was a bit of a prodigy, like coming up. I remember seeing him as a very young kid, like on some like late night shows and things like that. So I've been around the game forever, and truly just so congratulations, Rory McIlroy. We'll see if you can follow up at the next big one and win the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. It was awesome. Awesome. I'll tell you something else that's awesome. Wolfpack baseball, after getting throttled yesterday, 25-8, they beat Louisville 11-1 in 8 innings. And so, you have to decide. I think Sundays, a lot of times they do that 10-run rule.
Yeah.
But because everybody's trying to get back, there's time limits, restrictions, and different things for flights. But hey, you win 2 out of 3 at the end of the year. They don't say how bad did you get beat on Saturday. They say, hey, did you win 2 out of 3? And so Louisville, number 14 team in the country. There's good signs there. I was going to give an update on my Tigers too. Watching some highlights, they do a good job. Hey, if you're not into watching an entire game, but you're kind of still into baseball, dude, they do some really cool. Like Wheels does a really cool one for college baseball. Wheels, if you Google it on YouTube, or not Google, but if you YouTube it, he does some really good compilations and 10, 12, 15 minutes gives you kind of the story of the game. But MLB does the same thing for MLB games, and the Tigers are playing pretty well. I believe they're 8-5 now, or at least the last time I saw they were 8-5. And so they're right there in the mix.
9-6.
9-6. 9-6. I was 2 games behind.
One game ahead of the Guardians.
And so, dude, and I think once it warms up, maybe they'll start getting some fans in Detroit. It's not great fan bases, but it hasn't been great weather early yet.
Hey, I was just in Cincinnati, buddy. I know that. So I drove home all yesterday since Cincinnati to Garner, Raleigh, and a couple things. Once we started getting into North Carolina, so much green, like just green, really green, and stuff that just hasn't bloomed, and leaves aren't on trees up in Ohio or through the mountains of West Virginia. So that was nice to see all the green. I need to cut my grass for the second time already this year, but yeah. So Tigers are in first place. So Brian, I'm gonna go through some of the divisions right now.
Yeah,
and some really interesting. And I know we're 17, 18 games in, so not really deep into the season, but it's enough to start to get a little feel, right? And it's
I definitely agree. I think you kind of evaluate it around 30 games, and I think you can evaluate it around 60 games and then 100 games. It's kind of the number. So I'd always heard. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see, because I haven't followed it extremely closely. I've watched a number of games, but I haven't watched
a few things surprising. The Blue Jays are on top of the AL East by half a game. Yankees are 8-7. Blue Jays are 9-7. The Orioles are 6-9 in last right now.
And I got a couple of things on that. The Yankees have some real issues with pitching. They can score, but good pitching still beats. Maybe that's always been the case. I think it has been. Still beats good hitting. And the Yankees have really good hitting, and they got one pitcher that's got a sub-2 or sub-3 ERA, and then a lot of guys over 5. And so anyway.
Rodon's been throwing pretty well, I think, but otherwise
he's still above. I think he's above a 5.
He had one rough one, yeah. So that's kind of a surprising division right there. But again, super early.
15 games in. But I do think you start seeing some trends. I agree with your assessment. So Baltimore 6-9. That's
6-9. Gunnar Henderson just came back. He was on the IL. So I think once they start getting healthy, I think they'll start humming a little bit. Tigers on top of the AL Central. They're 9-6. Guardians right behind them. White Sox, no surprise, in last place there. 4-11. Almost got no hit yesterday by Garrett Crochet. So nothing really surprising there. The AL West, The Angels on top by half a game over the Rangers right now. Mariners in third, Astros in fourth, and it's just the Athletics. No home city, just the Athletics are in last. So I think the Angels being on top is a surprise.
Hang on 1 second. Have you seen a game with them playing in Sacramento? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen a couple. Yeah, I have.
I've seen one. It is a weird look to me to see an MLB team in that kind of environment. It's just a weird. I'll tell you another thing. Like, I was watching Coastal Carolina. They were playing Georgia State, and Georgia State has not updated their stadium. It's like the stadiums that we played in high school and early college at Georgia State. And so it was just weird to see, like, all these other stadiums are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Georgia State's apparently going to do something. Yeah. You know, they're right there in downtown Atlanta. But it's kind of the same way you look at it, the Athletics playing in a AAA stadium with all these other beautiful stadiums. And it just doesn't feel right, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And again, Sacramento Stadium is very nice for a AAA stadium.
Right.
It's lacking second or upper deck that all big league stadiums have. It's lacking seating in the outfield. A lot. Yeah, it's great for a minor league park. Hill out there, bring the family, sit on a blanket, that sort of thing. But it's very fitting for the A's, I think. Just very fitting.
Well, it hadn't always been.
No, I mean, but
you know what I mean?
Even Oakland Alameda or whatever it's called, it was a dual purpose football, baseball. It was never. It was so huge. Like, I went there back in was it 2000 and saw a game there. It was just odd, man. Like, you had this massive structure in center field for, like, basically for football seating, and it just felt very cement, very rigid, very cold, like. And they tried to spruce it up with banners and A stuff, but it was never great. I mean,
okay. I just remember them being full at times that I saw games, or at least.
I mean, it was probably full, but there was still a lot of seats available. Right? It's a football stadium. Yeah. And the thing that's, I mean, even more of a kick of the teeth. I mean, we've talked about right across the bay, like across the bridge, literally, is the Giants Stadium, which is amazing. Beautiful. Yeah. They utilize the bay there as splash landing, and so just, gosh, man, just really crazy. So let's pop up to the NL. I don't think much of a surprise here. The Mets and Phillies, first and second.
Braves
4-11 in last. That is still a bit of a surprise. Acuna's not back yet, but they've got enough firepower and enough pitching that they shouldn't be 4-11. Man, they're still not hitting the ball at all. But Mets and Phillies on top of that division. The Central, the Cubbies on top right now. Brewers just a game back. So my Brew Crew at 8-8.
Oh, right in the mix, right in the fight. Right in the
mix. The Reds 8-8 as well with a sweep of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So
is that your second favorite team now? Have they moved up on your emotional list? No.
I mean, I enjoyed it. Probably not my second favorite. They've got a special place in my heart, though. But a sweep of the Pirates, and then in the NL West, Padres on top. Giants and Dodgers right behind them, though. So Giants having a great season at 11-4 so far. Padres are 13-3.
Yeah.
And Diamondbacks 9-7. So Diamondbacks are playing good ball as well. They
very tough division. Very tough.
2 comeback wins on the Brewers the past couple of days. So Brewers bullpen needs to get their act together. But so, man, and some interesting things going on. And then the lowly Rockies actually have a worse record than the White Sox right now. But we're coming up on, and the way the schedule works now is it's an even schedule. So you don't play a division heavy sort of thing. Schedule, so that's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. So, a couple things, Brian, I wanted to mention that I didn't mention about our Cincinnati trip real quick, just to tie it all up. Then we've got one more Cincinnati thing to talk about. So we went to the zoo, and a lot of kids, a lot of little kids, and we're out of this phase of our life. Our youngest is 7, so a lot of strollers, a lot of, I'll give you to the count of 3. We were never that family to count. It was like, just either do it or don't. Like, let's go. and just a lot of that. One. Did you ever have the leash thing for your kids? Have you seen that?
I think I'm not a huge fan of it. I think we thought about it one time for my youngest. It felt like he needed one. And I think my wife may have bought one kind of as a joke, but it
Yeah.
never felt right. It
Well,
never
they
felt
make it
like,
look like a book bag, and then
yeah,
it's
it never felt right. It's like a
oh, a
dog. I
handful.
mean,
Yeah,
essentially a dog harness around a
yeah,
child. It never feels right. I'll say we may have done the 1, 2, 3, but sometimes I would go quick wrestling count, right? So it's never 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2. It was like sometimes it was 1, 2, 3, and it was gone, baby, gone. There was hey, then
yeah,
you didn't know the next time, you could set the expectation.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, what was your big takeaway, Paul?
So another thing, we're walking around, and there was a mom fussing at a kid, and she said, "D'Artagnan." I'm not going to say it again.
I want you to say it again.
I said, "What?" And we were just like walking by, so I didn't stop. I was like, and so D'Artagnan is one of the three musketeers, like
Oh
from
yeah, for sure.
literature. But I was like D'Artagnan as a name for a, I guess you respect it. I don't know, but
I
it was,
respect it. I respect it. I like names that are different. Obviously, growing up Brian Wright, you appreciate different names. My kids got kind of unique names, and
yeah.
I would say, but D'Artagnan, you already call him Dar. Hey, Dar, let's
He
go.
went D'Artagnan. I mean, I guess turns into Dart, I guess, from
And you end up kind of two places in life with that name, like really super successful or in prison. There's no middle class D'Artagnan, right? You end up super successful and like either athlete or entrepreneur or something, or
yeah.
you end up in prison. There's
And we've
no middle class D'Artagnan.
we've talked about that a little bit too. With so our oldest two daughters, their first initials of their name start with R. So when we had our third, and it was not planned. It just happened that way. We didn't. There was no R thing. So when we had our son, he was third. It was, oh, you're gonna name him something with the R, and we were like, oh, no, like that wasn't. But so we went through the exercise anyway. And the one that I landed on that I liked that my wife hated was Romeo. I was like, it's definitely different.
Yeah,
But I was
yeah. I
like,
mean, you see some Romeos.
here's the
Uh,
thing: if you're in high school, hanging out with your buds, and Romeo joins, like your credibility as a crew instantly is raised, right? Like,
I agree.
oh,
And
like Romeo's here. Yeah,
by the time you get to high school, your name is Rome.
probably. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's Rome. It's not Romeo. It's Rome. Hey, Rome,
Rome or
which
Romeo.
is a pretty
Yeah.
cool name, especially if you got two-syllable last name like you guys have. Rome. Yeah, I think it would
Yeah,
have worked.
maybe.
It would have been pretty.
Um,
Rome Stewart. That feels like a big leaguer.
It does. Maybe we missed out, but so last thing, as we were driving, a lot of driving, there was some areas or like cities or towns, and I thought about this. Anything that has like the last name Hill or Heights at the end of it, just to me sounds like cool. Like, hey,
Okay.
where are you from? Oh, Bunker Hill. Like, oh, Hill. Oh man, it feels just like instantly credible. It feels like there's history behind it. It feels like there's like clearly like a hill or some sort of geographic like that people. It feels like you already know where you're at before you even go somewhere.
I
Like
can appreciate
Chestnut
that. I don't
Hill.
have that. I don't have that viewpoint on it. Heights, for some reason, I think rough, like a rough neighborhood. I don't know
Yeah,
why. But Hill, I don't really. I think of Gold Hill, North Carolina. I think some other Bunker Hill, Snow Hill. I don't necessarily go
Apple
to
Hill.
that place, but yeah, I can see. I like it. There's a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
hills. Obviously, I'm from a sewer. There's not many sewers running around. Just say no, not many sewers. But hey,
Yeah.
one thing we did not mention, dude, yesterday, and we should have because it's kind of been a topic that we have talked about,
Oh yeah.
is Nico essentially leaving Tennessee because the NIL money did not get to where he wanted it to be.
Yeah, that
What's
was
your thoughts on that?
man, and we have stated we are all for NIL. We're all for the kids making their money.
Especially if it can be our kids one day.
Yeah, yeah, and so we're discussing the quarterback from the University of Tennessee. He made around $2 million last year
I
as
heard
the
2.4, but yeah, that's
yeah
around the range.
around
Yeah.
two, yeah. And his camp apparently wanted $4 million from the collective or however they could get that money. And Tennessee essentially said, either we don't have it or you're not worth it. And it was rumored that the Oregon head coach actually called the Tennessee coach and said, "Hey, this guy's sniffing around for money." And the Oregon coach, I guess Oregon and Tennessee coach are friends. He called him. And I've seen some memes and stuff that he's a snitch and stuff like that, but I mean, you're just
You
having a
respect it. I
conversation.
think that's the guy that came through. He was, I think he was at Memphis. Dan, whatever his name is. And so he coached with Saban for a minute. He was a volunteer assistant with kids. I mean, he has lived a life. Then he ended up being the head coach at Memphis.
Yeah, Dan
And
Lanning.
so Lanning, he has done, I'm sure he's got relationships down there. I don't know if that ever gets reciprocated back,
Yeah.
but that's really an old school method to where, you can leave, but you need to tell the coach that you're currently playing for that you're going to leave. Yeah.
And that was and I read as well, and again, I don't know how valid some of this is, but they apparently uh he was quite a handful to work with. Like they were giving him a lot of NIL, but he wasn't even meeting the obligations of the current NIL, which were some like fan appreciation kind of things, show up, sign some autographs, do some of those sort of things. So these are things I've read. I don't know it firsthand at all, but it sounded like the lemon wasn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
Like he was clearly, and he was a good quarterback, but I mean, they got 3 or 4 just like him, probably right behind him, I would imagine.
Well, he's a freshman, 6'6", nice frame. I think this is the downside of NIL, of giving money early. Like, there's a lot of kids that are not mature enough to handle that at 19. And I don't know if I would have been, right? I didn't like social settings nearly as much as I can handle them and deal with them and do what I need to do now. But especially at 19 years old, I can imagine. I thought it was ridiculous that anybody wanted my autograph when I was 22, right? And whether it be a kid or anything else, and I'm playing minor league ball, I thought that was ridiculous. And we had a couple of events that we had to go and do. And so I can imagine, depending on what your maturity level is, and I'll admit, mine, I just didn't have the right perspective. I think I had the right maturity, just not the right perspective. But, man, I just can't. I would say it's been amazing. There hadn't been more of these, and I think there will be more of these. But, man, you're kind of throwing away $1 for 10, or whatever the term is. You're throwing away $10 for one, because if you were successful at Tennessee, you're going to be a high draft pick, and then you're set up for life, right?
Yeah.
And you made $2 or $3 million a year. Hey, you push it as hard as you can push it. Let's not screw up where we've got a situation where we are the number one guy clearly in the SEC, and now we're not the number one guy. Don't really have a school to go play for. I'm sure somebody.
He'll end up somewhere.
He'll end up somewhere. He'll probably get that $4 or $5 million.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think you are. And Avent talked about it. The coach for NC State baseball. They had guys who turned down more money because of the situations that they were in, and still giving them a opportunity to see a pitcher to get drafted, right? Because NC State has had a lot of draft picks, and I would say, sometimes, just the easy money or the money that's real close can screw up the money that's farther down the road if you would just try to do not necessarily what's right, because I don't think anything's right or wrong in this.
Yeah.
My nature is to be loyal, especially to the people that give you a chance. But the reality is, I don't blame kids for moving, but there's a way to communicate, I think, is the thing, I believe.
Yeah, and again, I think all of these players now have agents, whether those agents are legitimate people who have been in the business, or if it's their parents, family, high school coaches, or friends. There's really to be an agent and represent somebody in professional baseball, you have to go through a certification process. There's none of that in college right now. And so I've heard some horror stories about, like, literally uncles and stuff like that calling and asking for money from head coaches. No, who is this? Like, who are you? Like, what are we talking about? And I don't know, man. It's going to be
And I've heard the percentages are way off from what agents got when we were playing and what agents get, which is at 3%. I think sometimes a higher percentage, depending on, sign-up bonus and different things. I've heard up to like 15 to 20%. So then they're really motivated for, you get somebody $100,000 deal or $1 million deal, and you get 200,000 out of that, or you get somebody a $5 million deal, you're getting 1.5 or whatever the number is out of that. I mean, it is. There's no jurisdiction, there's no body that kind of drives this. And I'm not sure what the body is that drives MLB and the scouting that's required. But a lot of this, the agents, a lot of the agents, at least when I was coming through, and eventually my agent, he was a lawyer who took this as a side. It felt like there was kind of some standards you had to meet before you could even, be an agent.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of them are lawyers and a lot of contract law, and a lot of them are former players who are representatives of an agency who have the lawyers behind them, because a lot of it is contracting, making sure you understand the legality of it all, right? So it was similar. So in the Dominican, it was similar because Dominicans are free agents. So that, again, they have a very kind of familial situation there where one guy may live in a town and represent a bunch of different players, and he's going to get cut or a lifelong cut. I've heard some crazy stories around that as well. So
I have too.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, and again, I think speaking on behalf of Brian, we're both fans of NIL and players making their money, but we're also fans of people being adults and doing things the right way and having adult conversations. And sometimes when you kind of sneak around and try to go behind people's back, you get caught, and then you're left out on the street. So there's no doubt he'll find a place to land. Does he make 4 million? Maybe. Does he make 1 million? Maybe.
I feel like he does, and I feel like he probably makes it 4 million. I feel like there's some school that will give him that, but man, like you said, whatever the squeeze lemon is, the lemon worth the squeeze. I don't know.
And again,
he had a ton of talent around him at Tennessee, and really good team, but still got beat, and when it mattered. And so but he's still so young, man. Like I said, 19, 20 years old. This is a lot of real decisions that if you don't have the right people around you, you can make yourself look like an idiot, whether you are or not. And the truth of the matter is, he's probably a normal 19, 20-year-old, very confident, probably edges on the fringe of arrogant. Hey, start quarterback for Tennessee. You got to have some mojo with you.
Yeah, you got to have a little something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It's going to end up making him look bad. But I hope he figures it out, because he's got a ton of talent. He beat the tar out of freaking NC State. I mean, he looked like all world. He looked like he was worth $4 million when he played NC State. That's for sure.
Yeah. NC State wasn't the best team this year, but so again, he coming off of a playoff. They were in the playoffs last year. Didn't do great, but they were in the playoffs.
Yeah, they got there in a very tough league.
Yeah, playing in a tough SEC. So we'll see how that all plays out. But Brian, it's Monday. You know what that means?
The player athlete you should know, right? Am I saying it right?
Let's play music. Athlete you should know. Yeah. And so we're gonna put a little bow. So on our trip to Cincinnati, my trip to Cincinnati, and so got to walk around the Hall of Fame. And this is we're gonna tie this into something that's going on in Major League Baseball currently. So there is a player by the name of Heinie Grow.
Good name.
He was, if not, maybe one of, but if not, the best third baseman in the National League during the dead ball era. So there's no Gold Gloves at the time, but he, by all metrics, would have been awarded several Gold Gloves if that was an award. Kind of a small guy, was listed at like 5'8", $160. So his first at bat was a memorable one. So he was sent to the plate as a pinch hitter against the Cubs. So the umpire was a guy named Bill Clem, and he had a long-running feud with the Giants manager, John McGraw. And so Groh had a very kind of boyish look. So he walks up to the plate, and somebody from the Cubs dugout yelled, "McGraw is sending the bat boy to show you up, Bill." And so the entire grandstand heard that, and most of them believed it. And then the umpire looked at it, and he goes, "Hey, are you under contract with the New York club?" And Groh said, "I am." And then the umpire let him hit. And then, and then Groh actually got a single. And so many of the fans left the Polo Grounds actually thinking that they saw the Bat Boy get a hit that day. So a couple years later, and this is where the Reds part ties in, the Giants made a trade with the Reds in May of 1913. And Groh's inclusion was kind of an afterthought, but he turned out to be kind of a key player in that deal. But before he got traded, good defensively, not a great hitter, right? And so he thought, or McGraw suggested that he become a better hitter if he used a bigger barrel bat. But Groh had really small hands, and so he asked Spalding, so Spalding Sports, to customize a bat for him. So most bats, they're kind of gradually tapered up. So they created one for him with an unusually thick barrel, and we'll post a picture of this on our Instagram and on our socials. But it was a really stark taper, right? And so he whittled down the handle of the standard bat, and we built it up. And so when it looked like a crazy kind of milk bottle, and so they called it the bottle bat, and that's what. And so now with all the torpedo bats going on, so stuff like this has been going on since 1913.
Yeah.
So he became a much better hitter using that bat. And they said his stance was both feet faced the pitcher, and then he would just kind of slap at the ball. And so this was during kind of the dead ball era. And those were the kind of things you did. You're moving runners, you're hitting and running, you're slapping. And then Groh actually came up as a second baseman with the Giants, but when he came to the Reds, they moved him to third base. Which was probably the most important position on the infield during the dead ball era because there were so many bunts and these kind of plays. And Groh had a .967 fielding percentage, which is the best for any third baseman that played before 1920. And so Groh was also a member of the 1919 Reds, who won the World Series, but was against the White Sox, later called the Black Sox, because of the alleged gambling. They found out they were gambling. But Groh didn't know anything about it. He's like, we beat them fair and square. And then they found out and they got in trouble for it. And he's like, I think we would have beat them anyway. So it's confident.
Yeah, whatever. Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you take your ring and you keep it moving. And he had a pretty long career when it's all said and done.
Yeah, but so Groh played until 1927 when his playing days were over. He stayed in baseball, first as a minor league manager, later as a scout. He eventually moved back to Cincinnati. Worked for a cashier at the River Downs racetrack. And then on August 22nd, 1968, he passed away at the age of 78. So learned a little bit about him this past weekend, but saw some pictures of that bat. And I was like, man, this stuff has been going on for a long time and just never mentioned. So I don't know if that bat actually met the standard. And Brian, I sent you a picture of it. It looks crazy. It looks like a wiffle ball bat or something.
It really does. And now your max diameter on your barrel at any point is 2 5/8. And so that's the biggest you can get now, even torpedo, whatever you do. It doesn't feel that one, just looking at it, feels like it was flirting with 2 3/4. Like kids can use USSSA bats now.
Yeah.
Or at least for another year or so, and they can be bigger barreled, but that one looks almost like the big red bat.
It almost looks like a thin handle with a rolling pin on top of it, is what it looks like.
Yeah. And what a great name. I mean, that should be one of your guys, too. I mean, when you're talking about baseball names.
So real name's Henry. His real name is Henry. But again, and walking through that Reds Hall of Fame, a lot of they had a little tribute to the Negro Leagues as well. I don't think anybody in the Negro Leagues actually went by their real name. They all had just great nicknames. So that was
and that's always been baseball. And you can't give your own. Somebody's got to give you your nickname. That's kind of the deal, I think. But
and I feel like they're more creative in that time because I think the press had a lot to do with it, the media, and not my nickname was always Stu, right? It's just, most nicknames now are just some sort of version of your name or your last name.
It's not like it's
nobody called Brian
like Ogre or
Bam Bam Wright, anything like that. That'd have been Bam Bam Wright would have been a good one for you, I think.
Bam Bam, that is a great name. And like, I feel like, again, you set yourself up like the woman at the zoo using that name. You set your kid up for two options: extreme success or extreme failure. And so, when you do safer names, keep you in that middle class. These other names give you a chance for greatness, right? And also give you chances for not so great. So.
D'Artagnan sounds like a lot of face tattoos in the future as well, maybe.
Yeah, and probably starting, I don't know. I mean, he's in Cincinnati. That's is that considered, is that the East or Midwest?
It's the Midwest. The Midwest. It's
okay.
Ohio. It's the Midwest, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so, well, hey, thank you all for listening today. We appreciate you starting your Monday with us. We hope you have an amazing week. You know who's going to be here for you all week? We are. So we'll be here. Keep listening, keep enjoying, keep sharing. We appreciate it.
Out, go Pack and Tiger.